This time on Monkey Life. Hsiao-Lan refuses to play ball when the team try to do a pregnancy test.
It'll happen, just time. It's just not missing it when it does happen.
Capuchin Tau out in the trees for the first time in his life.
Look at that, he just comes storming out, man on a mission, exploring the enclosure, and it just goes to show that every single monkey deserves a chance.
And a bake-off at the Woolly House.
They can be a little bit guilty of stealing food from each other, especially if it's something as tasty as their cake, which they all absolutely love.
Monkey World, tucked deep in the English countryside, is one of the oldest and largest sanctuaries of its kind on the planet. For 25 years, the team have been rescuing and rehabilitating abused or unwanted primates from all over the world.
You wouldn't think it could be so stressful just moving a given 50 kilometres.
The park is run by Dr. Alison Cronin and is home to more than 240 monkeys and apes from 17 different species. At Gordon's orang enclosure, primate care staff have a tricky job on their hands. It looks like Hsiao-Lan might be pregnant and they need to do a test. Hsiao-Lan has been at the park for 10 years. She was brought over from Taiwan after being rescued from an amusement arcade. This would be her first child.
It's nice to confirm it with a pregnancy test. And what we're trying to do at the moment is get a urine sample from her. So if we got her in this tunnel where when she has a pee, Jarno's going to dash under there like a startled gazelle and collect it in a cup.
But that's easier said than done. Hsiao-Lan doesn't seem in any hurry to relieve herself.
She's not actually had much to drink yet today, so we're just giving her a reasonable amount to drink to help sort of shorten this exercise.
Hsiao-Lan seems pleased with all this extra attention and is enjoying the drinks. But shows no sign of needing the toilet.
No. It's just the human pregnancy test is near enough for orangs, and you never get false positives. Occasionally you might get a false negative, but if it says positive, you're positive. And I'm positive she's positive anyway, so... But it's nice to... I have been wrong before.
Hsiao-Lan is still stubbornly holding on. And Jarno is still standing by.
It'll happen, just time. It's just not missing it when it does happen. You done that yet?
Nearly there. I can smell it already, though.
Good.
Finally, Hsiao-Lan gives in.
How much you need, Jeremy? Full cup?
Yay!
You done it? Oh, well done.
Still quite warm. I did mine. Now the arrow together.
The moment of truth.
Are you ready, Jarno?
I'm ready.
Monkey World is part of the European Endangered Species Breeding Programme for orangutans, so if the test is positive, it will be great news.
So,
Yeah, she is.
She's mommy.
She is.
There you go.
Wow, look at that.
Pregnant. Hyla.
Oh, yay.
So, Hsiao-Lan is going to have a baby. But there's some dispute over who the father is. Although she's living in Gordon's group now, she's recently spent a month with Tuan's group. But Jeremy is in no doubt.
Definitely going to be Tuan.
He says Gordon has never made any moves on Hsiao-Lan.
Nobody ever saw him show any interest in that department, whereas Tuan was very interested. Very, very, very interested.
The gestation period of an orang is between 8 to 9 months. The team are keen to work out how far gone Hsiao-Lan is. Fortunately, they have mating records to help them with this.
All the orangutan staff will make a note of regular sexual interest from Tuan towards the females that he lives with, and any matings are recorded on a wall chart in the kitchen to establish or get an idea of how far along the individual is, and then obviously their expectant date. It is very important to know sort of how far along she is in the pregnancy, and obviously because we have to alter things like diet, we like to monitor how well she's doing, and then obviously gear her up towards the end of her pregnancy, and then obviously for the birth.
Hsiao-Lan was taken from her mother at an early age, so wouldn't have learnt from her how to bring up children. However, she has spent a lot of time with Xiao Kuai and her baby Jin recently, which staff hope will stand her in good stead.
She saw Jin right from the beginning and has seen Xiao Kuai rear him very successfully, so I'm hoping all those skills, she's absorbed them and she'll do the same herself. Fingers crossed.
Golden-cheeked gibbon Peanut has already proved to be an excellent mother, and she's just given birth to her third child. Staff didn't know exactly when the baby was due, but knew it was imminent.
We had a fair idea that the baby was due any day. We have been checking a lot extra early in the morning and that the last week or so. The baby certainly seems to be very strong. We've seen baby suckling quite a few times already, so we're really happy with that. Baby is also holding on with all four limbs, which is really, really important. Mum obviously needs all of her limbs for travelling through the trees, and she also needs them for obtaining food and holding food as well. So that instinct to cling with all four limbs is really important, and as we see at the moment, baby is holding on, so we're very happy with that.
Peanut's other two children seem to have accepted their new sibling.
Tien and Tianang are really excited about the new baby. They are really, really curious. They keep having a look and sort of trying to get a quick touch if they can as well. But Mum's obviously letting them look, but very protective, making sure the little one doesn't get bothered. And they're just keeping themselves amused.
Dad Pengyo is being supportive.
Pengyo's also been very interested in the baby. He's popped over and had a look at the new arrival. Obviously, he's a little bit more tentative as well because Peanut is being very protective, so he's spending most of his time with the other two kids, keeping them busy.
The gibbon team are giving Peanut supplements to make sure she has all the necessary nutrients.
With Peanut being pregnant and obviously now she's nursing as well, we give her a mother-to-be supplement, which is basically iron and folic acid that any human pregnant mother would have as well. At the moment, we believe the baby is a boy. We're not confirmed it yet. Another day or so, and we should be sure.
Peanut isn't the only one getting supplements.
What do you think of this, Traves?
All the primates at the park are given extra nutrients to make sure they stay healthy.
One for you.
At the woolly monkey enclosure, staff have come up with an ingenious way of getting the woolies to take theirs.
This is woolly cake. It's not cake like what you and I would eat. It's not pasty to my mind anyway. It's oats, yoghurt and all the supplements that they need on a daily basis. They'll not take their supplements just as it is, and I don't blame them because I wouldn't do that either. So what we have to do is put it into something that they find really tasty, and this is what we've come up with. So yeah, woolly cake.
Woolly monkeys are critically endangered in the wild, but the park has had tremendous success in breeding them.
We give them a cake each, and that way we know for definite they're all getting the supplements that they're supposed to get. They can be a little bit guilty of stealing food from each other, especially if it's something as tasty as their cake, which they all absolutely love. So we make sure that the cakes are all just nice little bite-sized pieces.
All the woolies are given cod liver oil, evening primrose oil and a calcium supplement to help with their joints and skin and to keep their fur in good condition. There are 3 groups of woolly monkeys. Lavar's gang are getting theirs first.
Come on in.
Julio grabs a cake while the coast is clear.
Hi, Julio. And Piquita. Kuna. Good girl. Diego, Isla. Come on then. Here, Bronx. There you go. Everyone's had it except Diego and Isla. Isla's disappeared off playing somewhere. She's a bit more interested in that than getting her supplements. Diego hasn't had his because Piquita's here. Piquita's the dominant female, and he knows better than to come and get food while the dominant female's around, because she'll just pinch it off him.
Diego, one of the youngest in the group, waits patiently. But Piquita has decided she wants more.
No, you can't have it.
Diego is desperate for his turn, but waits until Piquita is well out of the way before trying his luck.
Here, Diego. Good boy. Isla, come on. No, it's not yours.
Having made short work of his, Bronco now has his eyes on Isla's cake.
Isla, are you cake?
Finally, Isla makes an appearance.
Good girl. That's it, that's everybody had theirs now, so cake's finished and went down a street.
It's a big day for the park's newest capuchin monkey. Tau is finally going to be allowed out into the trees, and primate care staff are carrying out last-minute checks at the enclosure. Tau was recently rescued from Slovenia, where he'd been kept as a pet. For 5 years, he lived in a basement flat with no natural sunlight. A lack of vitamin D3 caused him to develop rickets and a deformed spine. Since arriving at the park, he's only been allowed in a small enclosure to give him a chance to get used to being outdoors. But in the wild, capuchins are tree-dwelling, so staff are keen to get him into the canopy as soon as possible.
He's always had a roof over his head, so obviously today letting him out in the forest will be a massive step for him, because he's never climbed trees or anything like that.
They've chosen just a few of the other boys to join Tau on his first big adventure.
He'll be coming out with the animals he feels really sort of comfortable with. There's Archie, Diaz, Caesar, who is one of our other pet trade animals that arrived, and there's also William as well, so he's with quite a few of his close friends. Come then, Erica, outside.
Erico confidently leads the others out. Inside the playroom, Tau seems puzzled as to what's going on. One by one, the other capuchins appear. Tau finally makes his way through the tunnel. He looks around for the others. But decides it's not for him. However, when William pushes past, he chooses to give it another go. He's still not sure. His friend Archie loves climbing in the trees and shows him there's nothing to worry about. Encouraged, he starts to explore. And it isn't long before he's braving it out with the best of them. It's a huge relief for Alison and the Capuchin team.
And it just goes to show that every single monkey deserves a chance, because when we first picked Tau up, he was in terrible condition. He was extremely seized up. His mobility wasn't very good, and that was probably because he was in the early stages of rickets. Now he's loosened up an awful lot, but he will, I think, forevermore have that one kink in his back and have a bit of a hunched back. But today, look at that. He just comes storming out, man on a mission, exploring the enclosure and taking over the cargo nets and all of the hoses like a natural.
Capuchin monkeys are highly intelligent and very inquisitive.
They're just always switched on, checking everything, watching everything, investigating everything. And it's great to see because Tau spent most of his life in a basement with very little sensory input. And it just goes to show that individuals who have led very limited backgrounds, that it is possible to rehabilitate them, and that all of those natural instincts remain inside the individuals we rescue. And we just have to provide them with a correct environment and care that they can express all of that natural behavior, and Tau's a perfect example of that.
Primate care staff have got a surprise lined up for Paddy's chimps. They're giving them a fruit to try that could make their eyes water.
It's something they've never had before. It's called quince. It kind of looks like a cross between an apple and a pear. They smell really, really nice, completely different to what they taste. So they're probably going to be a little bit confused when they take a big bite of them and then, yeah, realise they're really actually quite sour. So it's not going to be what they're expecting.
The chimps eat a lot of fruit, so don't suspect anything unusual. Clin, a natural hoarder, isn't impressed. She tries another, hoping that'll be better, but is disappointed. Bart, the baby of the group, doesn't like the taste. Female Chatter isn't keen either. Quinces are not usually eaten raw because they are so sour. In the wild, chimps wouldn't come across them as they don't grow naturally in their native Africa. But they would eat bitter fruits and plants from the forest. However, the chimps at the park have developed a sweeter palate. Just because they're not keen on the quinces, though, doesn't mean they don't want them. It's quantity that counts. Bart's sister Eddie has got quite a stash. And greedy Gamba has managed to grab a handful. Zoe is proving to be very resourceful. Bart decides he wants more and starts to hassle Zoe.
Bart would straight away get involved with any new thing. He's straight in there. He's got no fear, obviously, of anybody because he's the golden boy at the moment. He can really get away with murder, and he does. You'll see he's still got that little white tuft in his bottom, which in chimp society does mean that he can really, like all the infants, he can get away with pretty much anything until that disappears. So he's really taking advantage of being the baby in the group.
Bart's perseverance finally pays off.
They weren't massively keen on it. They didn't devour it like they would to some other yummy fruit that they'd not had before. But it's still good to give them something, different taste, something they haven't had before. It's new. I mean, it's always good to try new things, especially for these guys.
The chimps aren't the only ones having special treatment. At the Stumpy house, Phil and Paddy have also been singled out. They're being given additional food.
Basically, the idea of our extras is just to help out the lower-ranking members in the group. Just because obviously the dominant members of a group will always get first pick of any of the food that you put in there. So the lower-ranking members often don't necessarily get everything they should, so we just supplement their diet with extras just to make sure they're getting the correct calorie intake every day. This has got multi-milk, but it's also got some complan in it and also half a tin of custard for each of them.
Stump-tailed macaques are native to Southeast Asia, but the ones at the park were rescued from British laboratories where they were used for research. Staff separate Phil and Paddy from the others when they give them the extras to make sure they're not bullied. At 30, Paddy is the oldest member of the group.
Go then, Pads. That's it. Paddy's quite the character in the group. He has a very close relationship with Phil, who is at the bottom of the hierarchy. They're quite a funny pair together. They're pretty much inseparable most of the time. We make sure that we monitor these guys' weight. We try and weigh them every month. And so just by looking at their weights, we can tell if an individual's not necessarily getting their share of the food that we put in. So we just put them on extras to make sure that their weight is staying stable over the months. That's it. Good boy.
Phil and Paddy both suffer from cage paralysis. Their skeletons are deformed because they were confined to very small cages for years at the lab.
Phil is the lowest ranking male of the group that we've got and the lowest ranking of the group as a whole as well. No matter where they are, there's always going to be somebody at the bottom of the hierarchy, and unfortunately it is Phil. But it doesn't mean that he's getting a really hard deal of it. Obviously, he has got a lovely outside, which he really enjoys going out in, and quite often he'll just kind of take himself off and just chill out on his own. So he's not miserable, he just, unfortunately, he is bottom and someone has to be. Here you come in.
Phil is nervous even when the others aren't around.
Come on, buddy. No, don't bite the syringe. Good boy. Good boy.
Outside, the rest of the group are unaware they've missed out. With full stomachs, Phil and Paddy blend quietly into the background. Today on Monkey Life, Hsiao-Ning rejects Gordon's advances and moves back to the nursery.
I think it was just too much for a sensitive individual to deal with.
A delicate operation for woolly monkey Diego.
It appears that one of his testes is much larger than the other one.
And bully boy Jestah throws his weight around at the bachelors. Monkey World in Dorset is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet.
Good morning, you.
The team, led by Dr. Alison Cronin, rescue and rehabilitate abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
This is going to be the first day that they've ever stepped outside, ever in their lifetime.
The park is home to more than 240 monkeys and apes. The aim is to give them as natural a life as possible. At the Orang nursery, something unusual is happening. Oshine is locked in a tussle with Jolie. This play fight is a major step forward for Oshine, who has taken a long time to settle in with Linga, Dinda and Jolie since arriving from South Africa. Her progress is largely due to her budding friendship with baby Silvestre, who was recently rehomed from a zoo in Spain. He's managed to bring out a softer side in the big orangutan. But today, there's about to be another upheaval in the nursery. The orangs are being joined by an old friend. Dinda's sister, Hsiao-Ning, who has recently been living in Gordon's group, is going back to join them.
She has lived in there before, but she's never met Oshine and Silvestre. So this is the first hurdle to see if Hsiao-Ning is just going to be very depressed and a downer about it, or it might be that Oshine takes an interest in Hsiao-Ning.
8-year-old Hsiao-Ning was moved out of the nursery when Oshine arrived because it was felt that she needed to graduate to an adult group of orangs. She'd been in the nursery since it was set up 6 years ago. But the move wasn't very successful. Hsiao-Ning got on well with Xiao Kuai and her children Jin and Kai. But she didn't like leader Gordon. As the dominant male, he did show an interest. But the feeling wasn't mutual, and Hsiao-Ning kept her distance.
Hsiao-Ning was quite frightened of Gordon, but really it was because Gordon's too nice and soft himself that he didn't do what a fully grown, experienced adult male orangutan would do, which is grab hold of her and do what he wants to do. And that allowed Hsiao-Ning to sort of be wary, have opinions, slap her hands, and try and issue threats to him to back off. Whereas if that were Tuan, it would have been all over and done with. Hsiao-Ning's just a very delicate individual. In the wild, she would have been moving away, if not moved away from her mother, and had a male within her territory, and eventually they would have met up. Because we're in captivity, rather than slowly taking an interest in adult males, it happens overnight here when you move into an adult group. And I think it was just too much for a sensitive individual to deal with.
So the orangutan team have decided the best thing for Hsiao-Ning is to move her back to her old stomping ground.
Everybody in the nursery will be very happy to have her there if she just relaxes and goes with the flow. So we'll just have to keep everything crossed and hope that Hsiao-Ning is very happy to be back in a familiar place with some of the people that she knows and not with the adult orangutans.
At the park's hospital, the veterinary team are preparing to do a rather delicate operation. Primate care staff have noticed that 3-year-old Diego has got a swelling on one of his testicles.
He's a young male, and it appears that one of his testes is much larger than the other one and in a slightly wrong position. If the testis is retained inside him, it has a greater potential for turning into a tumour. Or it can cause pain in the groin because it's a physical lump in his groin, which is getting traumatised from time to time. Sometimes testes don't descend at the same time. So one can drop and then a while later another can drop, but I think the time has passed at which we'd expect that second one to have dropped fully.
The odd thing is that normally the inguinal testis is smaller rather than larger.
Oh, no.
And this is bigger and progressively bigger.
Woolly monkeys are prone to stress, so the team have to be careful when anaesthetising them. A member of the primate care staff who Diego knows has already given him an injection by hand to make him drowsy.
Before we do it, I'd just like to see how crashed he is.
Yeah.
John and the park's vet, Mike Nathan, head down to Diego's enclosure to check the sedative has worked. They don't like to keep any of the primates under anaesthetic longer than they have to. So, as soon as they're happy, they head back to the hospital. Once John has got Diego fully anaesthetised, vet nurse Penny shaves the area. It needs to be as sterile as possible to make sure Diego doesn't pick up an infection.
It's got bigger in relation to his body size, which is odd.
While Mike starts the procedure, John monitors Diego's breathing.
It's a hydrocele.
Developmental abnormality.
And it's just one of those things.
Oh, yeah.
So his testicle didn't drop and then it's surrounded with fluid.
A certain part of the anatomy of the whole testis is fluid-filled. It's
Yeah.
a cystic structure.
Okay. And you can't just drain the fluid and then the testy would drop. You have to remove the whole parcel.
The obvious thing to do is just to remove it. One testis would be perfectly fertile, perfectly male, sufficient testosterone. It's not going to
And are we happy the other ones actually dropped?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be rather painful for Diego when he wakes up after the operation, so while Mike removes the testicle, John starts to administer pain relief.
Some of the anaesthetic actually provides analgesia, and he has plenty of analgesia when he's asleep. When he comes round, obviously he's going to be a bit sore. I don't think we'll persuade him to take many pills at this stage, so he has an injectable analgesic painkiller. It'll last him 24 hours.
It was a very good call to do it. I mean, the fact is that it was getting bigger in relation to his body size, and we were always going to take this out at some stage because they're more prone to becoming cancerous in older life. So, and that's gone fine.
It doesn't take the little woolly monkey long to wake up once they've reversed the effects of the anaesthetic.
I think you should get him out of here.
Thanks, guys.
Prefer. He's perfectly fertile. He'll have as much testosterone as he wants. He just doesn't have an abnormal testis to cause problems. Things like that are great because they come in with a problem. The surgical solution to that is very simple, and they go out without the problem. It's just so much better than a long-standing skin problem or, you know, animal with a whole history of problems, etc. This is a very nice, neat thing. So in with the problem, out without it. Job done.
Hsiao-Ning is about to be moved to the Orang nursery. The Orang team need to entice her into the tunnel to get her into a crate. But she has other ideas. They often have problems getting Hsiao-Ning to go inside at night, so are not surprised by her stubbornness. Keeper Jarno decides to take drastic action.
Where is he? Hsiao-Ning, come on then. Here, please, I'm begging you. Ning, follow me.
Animal director Jeremy Keeling has now joined them. Hsiao-Ning's curiosity has got the better of her. She's come through the tunnel to see what all the fuss is about, but doesn't like the look of the crate.
A game of chess? But so far, this game of chess has ended in stalemate.
Jeremy tries his luck at persuading her in.
I'm gonna have to go into that bit.
Success.
She's in the box. Now we just need to move her across to the nursery.
What are you looking?
As soon as she arrives at the nursery, she seems to recognise where she is.
Is she looking like she wants to go in?
You know, once she's in the box, which wasn't difficult, I think she was jolly pleased to be moving and she's happy.
In the playroom, Oshine is oblivious to what's going on outside. She has no idea there's about to be a new arrival. Hsiao-Ning's sister Dinda is allowed out first to be reunited with her sibling. Closely followed by Linga, who is bosom buddies with Dinda. So far, so good, but the real challenge still lies ahead.
It's just the hurdle of Oshine, but that's quite a big hurdle. And there's little Silvestre in the mix. And we know Hsiao-Ning likes babies. She's going to be drawn to Silvestre just as we all are. And it's whether or not Oshine takes exception to the fact that Hsiao-Ning, a newcomer, starts taking an interest in effectively what's her baby.
At the Bachelor chimp enclosure, there's a bit of a fracas. Low-ranking Seamus is upset, but heavyweight Jestah is fed up with his squawking and decides to put a stop to it. Leader Butch intervenes to try to calm the situation. This is just a normal day for this all-male bunch. These chimps were put together because they didn't fit into any of the other groups at the park, and the absence of females means they can be pretty rowdy. In the wild, it's perfectly normal to have small groups of all-male chimps, and there's always a hierarchy. Butch has been at the park for more than 20 years.
Butch has really got the history in the group, and he is respected by the group, and obviously historically has benefited from backing of the two half-brothers, Jestah and Buxom.
Jestah and Buxom are Butch's henchmen and are never very far away from their leader.
Sorry to say it, but Jestah and Buxom are the bully boys, really. Jestah in particular. He doesn't have many redeeming features, and he really can give some of the lower-ranking boys a hard time.
Paco is another chimp who's near the top of the pecking order. He used to be in Paddy's group, but wasn't made welcome there.
Paco in the mix does create an interesting dynamic because, you know, he's a big male, he's really a force to be reckoned with, and although you see him doing these fantastic displays in the outside enclosure, he does actually command a lot of respect from the lower-ranking animals.
Chimpanzee politics are complex. It's not always obvious who will end up near the top.
Size does have an impact on who's dominant. You know, when you look out, it's typically the bigger animals that are dominant, but personality, of course, has a lot to do with it, how confident they are around feeding. Chimps in nature are greedy, so if you have the presence and the intimidation to get what you want when you want it, you're going to use that to your advantage.
Seamus came to the Bachelors from the chimp nursery, where he was used to getting his own way. Moving in with the boys was a bit of a culture shock for the cheeky chimp.
Seamus would stand out as a low-ranking animal in the Bachelor group. He's still got a fun-loving character and he still likes to have a nice time. So, you know, he does OK, but I definitely would class Seamus as down the bottom, really. Turkish Charlie also is very much a loner and really sort of almost exists on the periphery of the group.
Charlie, who used to have his own TV programme in Turkey until he was rescued, often gets a hard time from Buxom and Jestah.
It's rough play in the Bachelor group. It's definitely not for the faint-hearted. We see nicks and scratches, but we don't see really serious injuries in this group, and I think that's actually quite significant. It's not all doom and gloom. They do have good times together, and they are a fun group, you know, and we can play on that and give them lots of activities so that they can, you know, burn off that energy in a positive way. Every chimpanzee you look at has a softer side, a playful side, and, you know, it must be pretty tiring to be intimidating all of the time.
Things are calmer at the Orang nursery, where Hsiao-Ning is getting used to being back with her old friends. It's like she's never been apart from Linga and Dinda. But she still has to meet Oshine, and staff don't know how that will go. Oshine is very possessive of baby Silvestre and may be worried Hsiao-Ning will take him off her. Hsiao-Ning is allowed into the back bedrooms where Oshine and Silvestre are already waiting. Introductions are done here because it's a smaller and more controllable area. Jarno tries to keep things calm. As always, baby Silvestre is keen to hold out a hand of friendship to Hsiao-Ning.
The early signs are good because inside she's actually sitting alongside Oshine through a mesh panel, eating and so on, Silvestre and Oshine, and she looks all right with it.
But that could all change when they move to the playroom.
I expect that Hsiao-Ning will be interested in Silvestre, and, you know, then will that bring out the green-eyed monster in Oshine? We'll all have to wait and see how this pans out, but we're all going to play it as if it's just another day and open the slides go and see what happens.
Mischievous duo Linga and Dinda are no problem. They seem happy to have their old friend back. But staff aren't taking any chances with Oshine and Silvestre. Jeremy has decided to join them in the playroom to act as referee. Oshine is immediately on her guard, keeping a vice-like grip on Silvestre. Hsiao-Ning enters the lion's den.
Good girl, hello.
Ning seems unfazed. As she gets closer, Oshine decides to take to the hoses too, but she's not letting go of her baby. Where she goes, he goes. But Hsiao-Ning wisely avoids confrontation with the big orangutan and decides to take a breather outside. That's 1-up to Oshine.
Hsiao-Ning obviously came in and Oshine saw her, and there wasn't any really horrible negative reaction. And the one thing I was worried about was Hsiao-Ning coming in here and camping in here and never moving again. Well, obviously that didn't happen because she came in and then went out again. So now Hsiao-Ning's disappeared into the tunnel system somewhere, and that's fine. Everybody's happy, so I'm going to fade away now.
Hsiao-Ning has found a quiet spot in the tunnel. Oshine guesses that Hsiao-Ning will be getting treats outside and doesn't want to miss out.
Oshine's followed her in there, and they're sitting, well, really next to each other now, and they're both really happy, and they're, at the moment, just, you know, spending some time together and chilling.
At Lavar's woolly monkey house, primate care staff are putting out treats for the group to welcome back young Diego. The little woolly's recuperating after an operation to remove one of his testicles.
When he was recovering from his anaesthetic, we watched him constantly just to make sure he was okay. But now he's completely back to normal, except for the fact there's something interesting on his tummy. We're just trying to make sure we keep him super busy so that he doesn't start to play with his stitches, and all of the other interested group members away from it too. So we're doing lots of things like giving them extra scatter feeds of fun stuff like insects or seeds and berries that are seasonal that they haven't had for a while, just to try and keep them nice and distracted so nobody's too interested in his new scar.
The group are delighted to be having special treatment. And the procedure certainly hasn't put Diego off his food. His stitches don't seem to be bothering him at all as he stretches out to grab the fruit below. Diego's dad Lavar doesn't seem curious about his son's scar at first, but his mum Kuna can't resist getting a closer look.
Well, this group of woolly monkeys is a really tight-knit group. They're based on family, so they're really interested in each other, and they groom each other all the time to make sure they're all nice and clean, and any injuries they have, they'd obviously take a huge interest in to make sure they're okay. This isn't so much an injury, but perhaps to a woolly it looks like one. But they're all focused on it, trying to clean it, give it a prod, make sure they know what it is. And that's fine, as long as they don't open the stitches. So we're happy for them to have a bit of a look and be interested, but not to start picking at things.
Fortunately, they soon lose interest in the stitches and turn their attention back to their stomachs. The only problem Diego seems to have is a thorn in his foot from one of the blackberry brambles.
I'm really relieved now that the whole procedure's over. We know Diego's okay. We've all seen that he's nice and healthy, and we know that the operation was straightforward. So we're all really relieved that we've finally bitten the bullet and done it, and hopefully he'll be a much happier, healthier monkey for it.
This time on Monkey Life. It's all change at the chimp nursery.
It's no longer the nursery group anymore, it's just Sally's group.
The squirrel monkeys lose their leader.
She was the dominant member of the group, so it is a bit of a shock for all of them. She kind of led the way a lot of the time.
And Oshine and Silvestre joined at the hip as Jeremy tries to do a weigh-in.
On you get. Come on here. Good girl. Hey, let go of him. Oh, yeah, all right, you can have that, but you can't have him. He's not on.
Monkey World in Dorset is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet. The team, led by Dr. Alison Cronin, rescue and rehabilitate unwanted and abused primates from all over the world.
This is always, for me, the most stressful time. I want to see Kiki fit and healthy.
The park is home to more than 240 monkeys and apes from 17 different species. At the chimp nursery, Sally and the gang have got cabin fever. For the last 2 weeks, they've been shut inside because the outdoor enclosure is being extended, and they're now desperate to get out.
They're very fractious. Brian's got little cuts and scrapes here and there because Lulu and Sally have been telling him off. Rodders is bouncing off the walls and driving everybody nuts, and they're at the end of their tether.
Alison has also decided it's time to change the name of the nursery because the group is growing up.
We haven't been having youngsters come into the park that needed rescuing or that have been birth control accidents over the last couple of years. So the youngest chimps that we've got in the park that are in the nursery group are Rodders and Ash, and now they're like 7 years old. So no longer babies. It's no longer the nursery group anymore. It's just Sally's group. It's Sally's troop, really. When the kids grow up, the room needs redecorating, and that's sort of what we've done here. That's Sally saying it's time, it's time.
Sally is first off the blocks, closely followed by Rodders and Brian. They can't contain their excitement. One-armed Lulu follows, and finally, Ash. They're quick to try out the new hoses that have been added to the climbing frame. But it takes them a while to notice a rather large new structure. During the building work, a tree had to be removed, and primate care staff decided to leave it for the chimps. They seem intrigued, but also rather nervous. Ash isn't sure what to make of it. Brian wants to have a closer look, but holds back. Rodders is reticent too. In the end, leader Sally shows them there's nothing to be afraid of. Mischievous Rodders doesn't need any more encouragement. And 8-year-old Brian starts to explore.
Now they've got an extension, and more interesting, they've got a tree. People are quite happy.
The chimps soon decide it's more fun to wreck the tree rather than climb on it.
They will destroy the tree, and they start ripping bits off, and then we'll just haul them out as they rip them off. Might last a month, or it might last another day, who knows?
Sally arrived at the park in 1993, but didn't get on with other adult chimps, so she was put in charge of the nursery and has proved to be a great adoptive mum. Lulu joined her 7 years later. She used to belong to a circus in Cyprus and lost her arm after her mother attacked her.
Necessity is the mother of invention. And if you haven't got an arm, you haven't got an arm, and you either get on with it or you don't. And Lulu got on with it. And Lulu's not disabled particularly by that arm. I can't think that in what way Lulu is disabled by the fact she's lost an arm.
Although Sally is the dominant chimp, Lulu has been a great help to her in keeping control of the youngsters. However, the hierarchy in the group could soon begin to change. Brian is turning into an adult, and as the oldest male in the group, will probably challenge Sally for the leadership.
Physically, Brian has changed enormously. I mean, just look at him, he's grown up, he's having his testosterone flush. Sally still dominates Brian mostly, but we're getting to the point now where every now and again, Brian will turn around and say, no, I don't need this.
It won't be easy for Brian because he doesn't have anyone to learn from. He was rescued from Mexico, where he was being groomed to be a beach photographer's prop.
He's going to have to evolve into being a grown-up with no role model at all. It's going to be a slower process because he doesn't have any teacher, he doesn't have any example to follow, and we can only hope that Brian doesn't have it too tough with a dominant lady like Sally.
Things have finally calmed down, and Rodders has stopped pulling the tree apart.
That could be a good sign that it's gone quiet now. You never know with these. They could be plotting something, who knows?
Sally's gang aren't the only ones getting a revamped enclosure. Work is also well underway at the Siam Gibbon house. The fences need to be reinforced and new ropes put up before Sam and his new partner Sasak can be allowed out into the trees.
We are hoping that it's only going to be a month or so and they'll be back outside in the big woodland enclosure that they have. So that'll be fantastic to see them both up in the trees and singing. It'll be amazing.
Sasak has only just arrived from Dublin Zoo, but the two gibbons are already getting on famously and have even started singing together. In the wild, Siamangs live in pairs with their offspring. The male and female gibbons each have individual songs which they sing together as a duet. The team are surprised that Sam and Sasak are singing together so soon.
It's really important with the gibbon species that they sing together. It's a real strong sign of a good relationship, a strong bond between them. It takes a little while for them to actually start singing together, so it's really impressive and special that they're singing already. The fact that both of them have gotten on so well so quickly is a really, really great thing. I mean, they could have just sat there going, oh my God, I'm so scared. But they haven't, they've moved on and it's great.
Another resident who's finally managed to settle in at the park is Max. The marmoset has been at the centre for 3 years, but has struggled to adjust to life with other monkeys after being brought up as a pet. He's lived with several different groups, but hasn't got on with any of them, until now. As a last resort, he was put in with 16-year-old Betty Boo, the park's oldest marmoset. And they've clicked.
You wouldn't really expect such a young one and an old one to get on, but we're really pleased that they've actually made a really good bond together and they're getting on really well so far. Betty Boo's really unique here at the park. She's absolutely lovely. I don't know a single member of the primate care staff that doesn't absolutely adore Betty.
But Betty Boo and Max's time together may be limited, as Betty is not only geriatric, she also has a lot of health issues.
Unfortunately, as Betty was kept as a pet, she has undergone a lot of physical problems from this. The main issue that Betty has is that she does suffer from a really severe case of rickets, which means that she finds it really hard to move around. She's quite fragile and quite wobbly on her feet as she does move around. She's also got quite limited eyesight as well now. We think she can probably only just about make out shadows. Luckily, because she's used to this enclosure, she does manage to kind of memorise the layout of it. But when it comes to hand feeding her with things like insects, it does rely a lot on the calling that you do and the shaking of the box, so a lot of it relies on the noise that she can hear. Betty! Come on, Betty! That's it, well done. Good girl. Here you go. Recently, we have noticed that Betty has kind of slowed down slightly. Obviously, it's not come as a surprise because she is so old, but she is spending a lot more of her day sleeping. She has a particular sunspot in the back of her enclosure where she just likes to chill out in the sun when it's coming through the window. She has lost a little bit of weight as well. She is still eating throughout the day, but obviously these are just all kind of signs that she is getting on a little bit in her years.
Max is a handful for Betty, but she seems to have got the measure of him.
She's the only marmoset here that's managed to tame Max. She manages to keep him in line, and she's just an all-round lovely character.
At the Orang nursery, Jeremy is preparing to weigh Oshine. Since arriving from South Africa over a year ago, the big orangutan has been on a strict health regime as she was clinically obese. She'd been kept as a pet for 13 years and fed an inappropriate diet of sugary treats as well as her normal food.
Come on, gorgeous.
At her last weigh-in, she dropped from 100 kilos to 80. The problem today will be separating her from baby Silvestre, who she now seems to be permanently attached to.
On you get. Come on here. Good girl. Good girl. No, you don't want to. We don't want him on as well. Right, hey, let go of him. 77. Oh yeah, all right, you can have that, but you can't have him. He's not on. We're looking at 76, 77 was the original when she originally got on. Then that makes him 10 kilos, which he looks about right. Looking at him, I would have thought. I think she's 76.
76.
Yeah.
Oshine's been here for just about a year now, and she's lost 25 kilos. So she was 100, she's now 75. That's not bad going. That's a really lovely gradual weight loss over a 12-month period. Any dieter would know that that's just absolutely brilliant.
What? What do you want? What do you want? Snacks. You want snacks, but that's make you fat again.
Oshine's lighter frame has had other benefits too.
Most recently, I've really noticed Oshine moving around a whole lot more easily as well. She's up in the climbing frame, her energy levels are up. Just goes to show that a reasonable, manageable diet and a bit of exercise really is the ticket.
She's like a slinky now, compared with what she was.
Oshine needs to be fit if she's going to keep up with her new sidekick.
And she is totally mum to Silvestre, and she's probably as protective to him as any mother would be, if not more so than any natural mother would be. It's a two-way thing, though, isn't it? Because it's given Silvestre the mum that we promised him, and it's given Oshine the baby that we promised her, with none of that messy bit in between. It's much the best way.
Jeremy tries once again to lure Oshine away from her little buddy so that he can get an accurate weight.
Come on, come play again. We don't want that.
And for a brief moment, Oshine does sit on the scales alone, although she keeps a firm grip on Silvestre. Confirmation that Oshine has lost more weight.
It's improved her physically, she's much healthier. Her periods, along with the birth control implant that we've given her, have made her feel a whole lot better. So Oshine's just had a physical revolution, really. And looking after the little one here is good preparation for someday when we hope that she's fit enough to move on to a mixed group and get pregnant herself. And it's just really lovely to see her doing so well and so happy because, you know, you don't just want them to excel at what they're doing. In Oshine's case, being an orangutan, you want them to be happy, and I just couldn't be more pleased for both Silvestre and Oshine. Really good.
Today on Monkey Life.
Hold him here.
Major problems for the team when hunchbacked Tau is on the operating table.
For Mike right now, it's a real nightmare to operate in a good position and keep his airflow good.
Mother-to-be Hsiao-Lan shows off her blooming figure.
She's got a nice big round bump, so you can tell, especially when she stands upright or if she's swinging, you can really see it.
And Oaska's woolly monkeys get a new house. Monkey World, buried deep in the English countryside, is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet. For 25 years, the team have been rescuing and rehabilitating abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
We've really done everything we can to make her journey as smooth as possible.
The park is run by Dr. Alison Cronin and is home to more than 240 monkeys and apes. The aim is to give them as natural a life as possible. There are 84 Capuchins at Monkey World. Until now, most of the males and females have lived separately. But recently there have been some problems in the boys group. So primate care staff have decided to move 4 of them in with the girls. Sean was a dominant male, but recently Winslow has been challenging him. Bruce is constantly over-groomed by the other boys, which has led to him developing some wounds. Caesar came from the British pet trade and is a bit of a loner. He's never really fitted into the group. And then there's new arrival Tau, who was rescued from Slovenia. Having been kept as a pet, he doesn't really understand the hierarchy in the group and has ended up in quite a few scuffles.
Tau's a very confident individual in a lot of ways, but he doesn't have the social skills sometimes to deal with it, and he'll sit there and try and take it. So our main worry was when we actually got the entire group together that he was going to have a really hard time defending himself.
Life should be calmer for these boys from now on.
Our females generally are a little bit more relaxed and chilled than all the boys in this house. So we're hoping, it's going to be a little bit easier life for them. And also being the only boys in amongst those females, they're probably going to get a lot of attention.
But before they can move, Tau, Bruce and Sean need to undergo a rather delicate procedure.
3 of the boys are getting vasectomised. We've got 84 Capuchins, so we're not really wanting to breed with them at this point, mainly because there are other Capuchins that may be in need of rescue, so we don't want to use up any more space.
At the hospital, the park's vet, Mike Nathan, is making preparations.
The unknown factor for us this morning is not so much Sean and Bruce, who've both been anaesthetised before, but Tau, who hasn't been. I mean, hopefully there won't be a problem, but we'll see.
Bruce and Sean are first on the table. They were both rescued from a laboratory in Chile, along with most of the Capuchins at the park, where they were being used for reproductive research. Their vasectomies are fairly straightforward and don't cause Mike any problems.
Give him his wake-up drugs, and he goes down to his new home.
Yeah, we're just heading to the lodge for Tau.
Oh, good boy. Just like that.
Tau has been left till last because he's also going to have a health check while he's at the hospital. Normally, they would have examined him earlier, but he was underweight and frail when he arrived from Slovenia, and an anaesthetic at that point would have been too risky. Even now, Alison is worried.
A little bit of a nerve-wracking time. He is very skinny, he has had rickets. We don't know a whole lot about his medical history, so you just don't know how he'll react under anaesthetic.
Tau has a deformed spine because of the rickets, which has given him a hunched back. This immediately causes problems for Mike.
Right, that's going to be the fun, isn't it? I knew that would be my problem. Just having problems with positioning him. Yeah, hold him here. Oh, no, I've got sandbags I can use. Just hold him in position.
For Mike right now, it's a real nightmare ensuring that Tau has a good anaesthetic for the procedure because of his body shape. He's a hunchback, effectively, permanent, and in order to get him to sit still and stable, we have to pile up sandbags behind his head to keep his natural curvature in order to operate in a good position and keep his airflow good.
Mike is up against time. If he doesn't manage to stabilize Tau in a good position soon, the procedure will have to be abandoned. At Gordon's orang enclosure, the team are keeping a close eye on Hsiao-Lan, who's due to give birth in the next few months.
We're really pleased with how Hsiao-Lan's been going through her pregnancy. She's really active, she's eating the same, she's not grumpy, and in the past other orangutans have been grumpy during their pregnancy, so we think she's having quite an easy ride compared to maybe to them. Physically, she's got a nice big round bump, so you can tell, especially when she stands upright or if she's swinging, you can really see it. Maybe a little bit more breast than she had before, but other than that, she's just Hsiao-Lan.
There's still confusion over who the father is. Although Hsiao-Lan is living in Gordon's group now, she recently spent a few weeks in Tuan's group.
Their gestation is very varied in the number of days. It ranges from 236 to 276. And obviously she moved groups, so she's been with Gordon and with Tuan. And there was some sexual interest with Gordon, and then there was positive matings a couple of months later with Tuan. So it all depends on whether she starts showing signs of she's going to give birth early. It could possibly still be Gordon's, we're not sure.
Orangutans are native to the islands of Borneo and Sumatra in Southeast Asia and are critically endangered. It's thought there are only around 50,000 Bornean orangs and 7,000 Sumatran orangs left in the wild. Female orangutans usually only give birth around once every 8 years, so pregnancies like Hsiao-Lan's are very important.
Hey, mother-to-be, I'm here. Let's have your extra.
The orang team are giving her additional food to make sure that both she and her baby get enough nutrients.
Salan pam. Let me see your bum. Okay, let me see your bum. Higher, higher.
They're also checking her regularly to make sure there are no obvious problems. This will be Hsiao-Lan's first child. Ideally, the team would like her to have the baby indoors, but they're prepared for every eventuality.
Good girl.
In the past here at Monkey World, we've had a few births at night, but also 2 in the middle of the day, in the middle of the outside enclosure. So I couldn't tell you exactly what Hsiao-Lan's planning, but I'm hoping that she does give birth in the bedrooms, just because it's better for her, it's warmer, and we've obviously got a much clearer view on her of what's going on in case we need to help her out. It's always exciting when we've got a baby on the way, particularly when it's an orangutan. So obviously the orangutan team, well, everyone at Monkey World is really excited about this.
At the hospital, Mike has finally managed to stabilise Tau.
Right, okay.
He's having to have a vasectomy before he moves in with the girls because the park already has 84 capuchins and doesn't want to breed any more. The difficult part of a vasectomy is locating the tube that needs to be snipped because it's very small and is mixed in with a bundle of nerves, arteries and veins.
Right.
Mike will send a small piece of the section he's snipped to a lab to confirm he's cut the correct bit. As part of Tau's health check, he's having bloods taken to make sure he has no underlying health problems the team are not aware of. Mike also wants to take some x-rays, but with Tau's hunched back, once again, that's not going to be easy.
Whoa, don't you wake up on me. Oh. Put him back.
He decides it's safer for Tau to have an x-ray on his side.
I'm not risking that, I'm sorry. I'm just going to do a lateral to get that out of the way. Sorry.
See, he's in a good position
I'm not
where he's quite happy on
I'm
his
not
side.
prepared to try risking that. Can I have the lights off, please, behind you, Alison?
The x-rays will show the team the extent of the curvature of Tau's back.
That's fine. Okay, x-ray.
His rickets was the result of a lack of vitamin D3, caused by not having enough sunlight or an appropriate diet.
effectively his whole spinal column, the whole area there, looks completely fused. You can't do anything with that. It's formed, he's not in pain with it, but he's totally compromised. So he's never going to be, I don't think he'll ever be one of the ones you can see leaping from branch to branch. He tries to take off like that, I suspect he'll flop.
It'll take Tau a little while to recover from the anaesthetic, but when he wakes, he'll be in his new home with the girls.
Went well, I think, but we're just going to give him a little while because he is being a bit slow to come around, and obviously we're worried in terms of his mobility if he starts trying to climb, you know, before he's fully awake. So just going to maybe monitor him for the next half an hour and then see how he goes.
Chimp Sammy, who lives in the Bachelors, has developed a weight issue. The last time he was on the scales, he was 77 kilos, which is a lot for a chimp. But primate care staff now think he's even heavier. They're concerned because he has an underlying health issue. He has an enlarged throat sac, which can exacerbate chest infections. So they've asked wildlife vet John Lewis to take a look at him.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing, he's got fat all over his back. He has put weight on. There's a number of reasons for putting weight on, including being greedy or having access to too much food, or there are medical conditions which will cause that. But he has put weight on, that's not going to help him, so at least he's a very cooperative patient.
John has advised the primate care staff to try to cut down the amount of food Sammy eats, but that's not as easy as you might think. Feeding time at the Bachelors is always a rowdy affair. The chimps are given a variety of fruit and vegetables throughout the day, and the higher rankers, such as Buxom and Jestah, get the pick of the crop, meaning they put on more weight. Low rankers like Charlie and Gypsy get the leftovers. Sammy isn't at the top of the pecking order, but when it comes to food, he's very clever.
Sammy does tend to hoard his food, so he'll look around, he'll pick a couple of pieces out, and then he'll put one in his mouth and he'll add to his stash. So he's constantly looking and he's constantly filling his space, so he has an effective feeding strategy.
Being a big chimp, no one challenges Sammy when he's eating.
He loves his food, but I guess you could say he's a little greedy, yeah.
Because the chimps live in a group, whatever the team decide to do for Sammy will affect the others. But Kate has a cunning plan. She's going to try feeding them one type of food at a time.
This, for example, I'm feeding turnip, so I'm just feeding a whole feed just of one item. So that means that all of the animals have a chance of having exactly the same item. Inevitably, the lower-ranking animals within the hierarchy would get slightly less of that, but hopefully at least it's the same quality, and Sam will hopefully get a bit less.
So the amount of food the group get will stay the same, but the food will be distributed more fairly. Everyone will get some of the tastier items. Sammy is nowhere to be seen at first. Jimmy and Mojo quickly get their fill, as does leader Butch. But once Sammy does make an appearance, there's no stopping him.
We're more concerned about Sammy's weight compared with some of the higher-ranking animals like Buxom, Butch, Jestah, because it does seem to affect his health and his activity levels. If we could get a little tiny bit more weight off him, I think he'd find moving around, playing with the chimps, a little bit easier and more comfortable for him. He wouldn't be so puffed out.
Low rankers like Rocky seem to be benefiting from the new feeding regime. For once, they've managed to get their hands on some of the tastier morsels, although Sammy is still hoovering up.
With everything that we've put in place, the changes to the food items we're feeding them, to the distribution of it, to the way it's presented to the chimps, all of those factors are going to help us shave weight off Sammy, and I am confident that he is going to lose some.
When Oaska arrived at the park last year from Basel Zoo in Switzerland, it was decided he would lead his own group of woolly monkeys. He was joined by Quappa, who came with him from Basel Zoo, Lena and Zingu. They were put in a temporary enclosure until a new house could be adapted for them. Work began in earnest a couple of months ago, and the final touches are now being made to the building.
I'm hoping they're going to like the new house. We've certainly put a lot of work into it, but you know, they're quite hard monkeys to please, so we'll see.
The team are putting up extra ropes for the monkeys to swing from because there's recently been a new addition to the group.
Milo is Lena's son, who was fathered by Oaska, and he's 5 months old now, so starting to become a little bit more independent. So this is going to help him a lot as he starts to explore this brand new enclosure.
Woolly monkeys are prone to stress, so the team want to make the move as smooth as possible. But they need to get the monkeys into crates to carry them the short distance to their new home.
Oaska's crate training has went fantastically well. He's been brilliant, so we've got actually no worries about him going in a box. He seems quite comfortable about that. The 3 girls are a bit more worked up about it, just because obviously Lena's got the baby that she needs to worry about, and then the other 2 girls are feeding from her. So if she's worried, they're going to be worried as well. But we'll just take that as it comes and see what happens.
They decide to move Oaska first because he's likely to get stressed if he sees his females being taken away from him. As soon as he arrives, he marks his ground.
His normal behaviour would be to go around, throw his weight around and make sure everyone knew that he was in his territory and that, you know, no other woolly monkeys should be around this area because it's his.
Woolly monkeys are critically endangered in the wild, but the park has been very successful in breeding them. Enticing Lena and baby Milo into their crate is not simple.
Right, Lena, out you come. The main obstacle with moving the girls is the fact that they get so highly strung, so getting them in the box is going to be the big obstacle. Lena. We have to be very careful. Their blood pressure can be quite a problem for them, so we have to keep everything quite strict and quite simple in our daily routines, and that just helps them to make sure that the blood pressure doesn't get raised.
Finally, they're on board. As Lena and Milo start to explore, the team head back to pick up the last 2 woolies.
Oaska was just really happy to see everyone, so I think when Quappa finally arrived and he knew that was his group complete again, I think after that it was just a case of business as usual, and they've just gotten on with the rest of their morning now. Just such a relief to get it all over with. Everyone's where they're supposed to be, and now we can just get on with it and just make sure the woolly monkeys are as happy as they possibly can be.
The female capuchins at the park are in for a big surprise. They're about to be joined by the boys, who fully recovered from their vasectomies and are now ready to move in. Sean and Caesar will be living with Amy's group, while Tau and Bruce will become members of Fifi's gang. Inside the house, Tau is soaking up his new surroundings. Sean is taking it all in his stride, as is Caesar. Bruce seems keen to make some new friends.
All boys are doing really well. They're now quite alert and sort of looking at their surroundings, flirting with the females. So, yeah, so far we're pretty happy.
The introductions, as always, are being carried out in the bedrooms because they are smaller, more controllable areas. Tau and Bruce are meeting Scarlet and Phoenix first. The Capuchin team have chosen them because they're low rankers, so will hopefully make them feel welcome. The boys seem rather bemused and not quite sure how they're supposed to behave around the girls.
There's obviously an awful lot going on in the bedrooms at the moment, and the girls are actually quite wary of the boys, but, you know, I think probably avoidance at this stage is a good thing. You know, as Jeremy always says, too much too soon can sometimes turn, so Yeah, they're just sort of checking each other out from a distance and moving around the space. We haven't had any actual contact yet, but certainly no aggression, so just sticking with it, really.
The other boys are being eased gently into their group too. And Sean seems to hit it off with Debbie, who immediately starts flirting.
You can have animals that seem to get on very well at one moment and then the next minute they're not getting on so well. So it really can change like that because you've got lots of personalities in the mix and then they're going with females that they've never met. So lots of dynamics, lots of personalities and lots of things to watch out for. But yeah, hopefully we'll get there in the end.